Okay, let's dive into this. If you've ever found yourself completely hypnotized by a 10-second sports promo while scrolling your feed, you haven't just been passively watching. You've actually been the target of highly engineered psychological design. Today in this explainer, we're completely deconstructing a really dense, single-paragraph creative prompt. We are going to break down the blueprint of a viral match prediction trailer to see exactly how visual adrenaline is manufactured. Everything stems from this one foundational command: create a cinematic 10-second FIFA World Cup 2026 match prediction trailer. Now, this isn't just a casual request. We are looking at the exact concentrated recipe required to generate a premium piece of cinematic sports media entirely from scratch. When you read this carefully, you realize this is a strict architectural plan. Literally every single word carries weight here. It demands a specific mood with the word cinematic, a specific format with match prediction trailer, and it immediately sets this massive, high-stakes global stage.
But the absolute most challenging instruction here is this number right here, 10. The prompt dictates an incredibly tight constraint of exactly 10 seconds. Now, in the world of traditional visual storytelling, 10 seconds is nothing. But in the social media scrolling world, it's a lifetime. You've got maybe 2 seconds to stop a thumb from swiping past. So within this fleeting window, every single frame has to be weaponized to capture and hold your attention. There is absolutely zero room for filler.
And the context for those 10 seconds, it literally couldn't be larger. We are looking at the upcoming FIFA World Cup 2026. Obviously, this isn't some local league highlight reel. By invoking the World Cup, the source material dictates a heavy psychological weight. It instantly tells your brain, hey, this is an event of supreme importance, projecting immense pressure and absolute pinnacle-level athletic achievement. So, to ground this massive, abstract scale into a tangible narrative, the prompt gives us our conceptual matchup, Belgium versus Egypt. This sets the stage for the action and gives us a distinct conflict to anchor onto. Think about it. You instantly start picturing the contrasting kits, the clashing styles of play, and that intense national pride that fuels the tension of a World Cup knockout game. So how do you actually structure a story when you only have 10 seconds? While the source material lays out a relentless micro-narrative progression. Step 1, the teams emerge, which builds the anticipation. Step 2, we're thrown directly into fast-paced action, delivering that pure adrenaline. And Step 3, the final scoreboard reveal, providing the climax. It is literally a perfect 3-act structure, brilliantly compressed into the exact time it takes to draw a single deep breath. So, how do we build out Act 1? It starts with the environment. The instruction meticulously demands a packed stadium beneath brilliant floodlights. Think about the crazy contrast that creates, the dark night sky pushing down on this intensely glowing arena. The prompt explicitly states that the teams must emerge from opposite sides of this environment. It's crafting an intense, almost gladiatorial atmosphere before a single ball is even kicked. But, a stadium is just an empty building without the fans. To build a truly visceral atmosphere, the source material demands specific sensory elements, crowd reactions, waving flags, and exploding fireworks. These aren't just background details either. They are active ingredients used to inject raw, chaotic human energy right into the trailer. It's essentially a psychological trick to trigger your mirror neurons, making sure you feel the deafening roar and the adrenaline before the game even starts. Once we hit Act 2, the action, the focus shifts to pure on-pitch mechanics. The prompt specifically calls for fast-paced football action, powerful shots, and dramatic tackles. Notice those adjectives. We're thinking less Sunday league, more cinematic superhero landing here. It also insists on a realistic player movement, so it's not enough to just show players running. The trailer has to convey the kinetic energy, the physical impact, and the absolute athletic precision of world-class football. And this brilliantly illustrates how we view that action, which is honestly just as important. The prompt doesn't want some static, wide broadcast angle. No, it commands dynamic camera movements and speed ramp transitions. If you're unfamiliar, a speed ramp is when the footage suddenly speeds up to bridge a gap, then slams into slow motion right at the exact moment of impact, like a foot striking the ball. It's a classic technique specifically used to manipulate time and artificially crank up the kinetic energy for the viewer. Now, capturing the action is one thing, but packaging it is a whole different ballgame. The prompt demands premium television production quality. This is where we transition from raw sports footage into a highly produced commercial product.
This broadcast polish instantly signals to our brains that something is premium and totally worth our time, functionally separating it from amateur user-generated content. To actually achieve that premium finish, the source requires a rapid-fire list of visual effects. Sparks, lens flares, flying particles. It's essentially demanding the full Michael Bay treatment. By layering these micro details over the action, the creator ensures that even the empty space on the screen is just buzzing with visual noise and high-energy excitement. Of course, no broadcast package is complete without typography. The instruction integrates broadcast-quality sports graphics directly into the flow of the trailer, explicitly calling for giant animated text that reads Belgium versus Egypt. But here's the real insight. Most people watch social media videos on mute. So this giant animated text isn't just a cool aesthetic choice, it visually reinforces the stakes and serves as a vital accessibility feature for viral media, keeping your eyes locked dead center on the screen. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the seemingly contradictory aesthetic the prompt requires. On one hand, it asks for an ultra-realistic sports documentary style, which implies grit, authenticity, and grounded realism. But on the other hand, it demands a viral football reel aesthetic, which implies hyper-stylized edits, fast cuts, and social media flash. The prompt is basically challenging the creator to find the seamless, perfect blend of these two completely distinct visual languages. Let's move to these specs and see how this builds the foundation. Holding all this visual chaos together is some strict technical scaffolding. The prompt is bound by uncompromising formatting blueprints. We've got the exact 10-second limit. We have a widescreen 16:9 aspect ratio, which is the standard for high-definition television and YouTube. And it requires high dynamic range, or HDR lighting, ensuring the absolute brightest highlights and the deepest, richest shadows. These are the technical pillars supporting the entire sequence. So the crucial point is how we land the plane. After all that sensory overload, we finally reach Act 3. The prompt sets the scene for the final shot, a glowing scoreboard. The tension peaks precisely as stadium fireworks explode above the arena. It's a classic, majestic concluding image that forces the viewer to focus entirely on the unresolved conflict of the matchup. And that unresolved conflict leads directly to the prompt's explicit cliffhanger. The glowing scoreboard doesn't show numbers, it flashes a massive, unavoidable question: who will win? In just 10 seconds, this intricate blueprint constructs an environment, accelerates your pulse through manipulated action, layers it in premium visual effects, and finally stops right before the resolution. When you break it down like this, you realize that true virality isn't an accident. It's highly engineered psychology. So next time you stop scrolling for a promo, you gotta ask yourself, does knowing the formula make it any less thrilling to watch?